During the first half of the element show, we're going to talk about a little history. You say, Gal, you can't keep a good man down. This good man we can't keep down is that we're talking about Booker T. Washington, the founder of Tuskegee Institute in Alabama. And I remember Orlando McAllister, who worked with me on the shows, who was my technical director too at one time. We were talking about this. He was talking about his teacher's class at a college about Booker T. Washington. I'm going to let Salibe Richardson go into, Salibe, how you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Fine. In a few minutes, we're going to introduce Orlando McAllister, who usually be on the other side of the place. Now he's in front of here. And we're going to talk a bit about, we're going to have a little time to talk about Booker T. Washington. And you can take it away from there. I'll interject in between. There you go.
Okay, thank you. Know your history. You're talking about Booker T. Washington today. He had a very interesting and hard life, and he actually was a child during the Civil War. A lot of times when we talk about the Civil War, we think about the soldiers who actually fought in it, but he actually was a child during the Civil War. Tell us a little bit about Booker T. Where did his name come from, first of all?
Well, let's start with the beginning. In those days during slavery, there weren't any birth records of the slaves, so they didn't really know their age. It was said to him that he was born between the ages of, let's say, 1858 and 1859. He wasn't quite sure. And his father was a white slave master living in an adjacent plantation. Mm-hmm. So he lived in the slave quarters with his sister, his brother, and his mother. And his mother was a plantation cook. So you can imagine how hot it got in a room that was 14 by 16.
Also, too, you mentioned that he slept on the earth, right, in his log cabin, right?
Yes, the log cabin didn't have any wooden floors. It was just the earth itself, and then they had to pile up a whole bunch of rags because they didn't have a bed.
Okay.
At that time.
What kind of jobs did Booker T. do as a slave?
Well, he had to tend to the front garden, mm-hmm. and he also had to feed water, provide water to the slaves. And 3 miles he had to go to get to the corn mill,
okay.
so he could bag up some corn. So he had to go through treacherous territory, a forest, mm-hmm. and if there were any Confederate deserters and they caught a Negro boy in the forest, he was subject to having his ear cut off.
Did he have to experience that? Did he actually get his ear cut off?
It never happened to him. After reading his autobiography, Up From Slavery, I'm convinced that he had like divine guidance, like mm-hmm. the Supreme was actually taking care of this human being, because he seems to have had protection all throughout his life.
I want to ask you a question. You gave this to your class as a class assignment?
Yeah, well, I teach 2 courses. I teach at the college level, Introduction to Personal Computers Application.
Okay, but how about Booker T?
That was for our Introduction to Communication course that I teach.
How did the class react to it?
Well, what I do is that I actually bring the book to life by portraying Booker T, because it's his words. The book is from a series of articles from a newsletter called The Outlook. So he was able to compile his travels, his experiences, and came out with this autobiography. And the students take it in well, because what it does is that it actually brings out the potential of the individual to see that here was a great man that valued education and taught himself.
You know, I was wondering too, we were saying this, how he got his formal education, right?
Right.
Well, his mother, I don't know how she got it. She might have got it from the master's house, but she had a spell book. Gave it to him, and he learned the alphabets. He also worked at the salt mill, and he was given a barrel that had the number 1818. That's when he first figured out what numbers were, because it was assigned to him. Whatever he filled was in 18.
How did he get affiliated with Tuskegee Institute?
Well, that came later on. He was in Hampton. He worked for General Armstrong, the headmaster, mm-hmm. and a woman named Miss Mackey. He had to travel from West Virginia by train, then he took a stagecoach the rest of the way. This is after the Emancipation Proclamation, when they freed the slaves, and that's the first time he ever experienced like racism, Jim Crow. Although he thought he was free, he wasn't allowed to go into a hotel.
Okay. What now? He was a child during the Civil War. What would a child have done during the Civil War? If they obviously he was not old enough to fight in the war. So
Well, it seemed like a lot of his journals and his experiences came afterwards when he got older. Then he backtracked and started to write his experiences because Reconstruction was from the years 1867 to 1878.
I'll ask you about the Reconstruction. That was the tricky part of the war during that time because because blacks were free, and there was an election. It was a presidential election that year, and it was Rutherford B. Hayes and Samuel Tilden, named after high school in Brooklyn. In fact, you were talking about Brooklyn in the house. There was a deal that was made for the Reconstruction to end, right? Did you?
He doesn't mention that in his book, but he does
There
mention
was a
Frederick
deal
Douglass.
that was made.
Yeah, he
And the
mentions Frederick
Reconstruction,
Douglass.
there was a deal that was made.
Yes.
Whereas, the states, the former Confederate states would go back into being in the Union again, right?
Yes, that's correct. But he does mention Frederick Douglass, that he met Frederick Douglass along the way. And one of the most important things about Booker T. Washington's philosophy of education is that you must educate other than the 3 R's, the hands, the head, and the heart. This was the 3 H's. Because he believed that you should have some kind of industry, special industry with your hands, handicraft, artisan, a vocation. It was not all about book knowledge, learning Greek and Latin, because then it'll swell your head up.
Because also, too, there's 2 schools of thought. I always remember the gentleman used to do a talk show on the radio in New York City, the late Bernard Melson. He always mentioned there's two schools of thought. And I followed this when I talk to people on the telephone, I deal with people every day of the week. There's I tell them 2 schools of thought. What they tell me here, I got to follow orders, and your common sense.
That's part of using the hands.
Yeah.
But at the same time, here you're not getting a third-party account by those who write history, who were not there. He was
But I
there.
mean, he was talking generally about, you mentioned earlier, say you can't be too bushy or nothing like that. You learn, I know that this, Latin, this, and that, and then you get too bushy later on about it, right?
Right, because he felt that for one to be truly happy, you have to provide service to others unselfishly.
Unselfish, give service.
Yes.
Later on, we'll have we meet a young lady later on, meet a gentleman later on. 2 people on the same show. Whatever show time you're watching the show, one of them we're going to. They give unselfishly to service. Sasha Hills will be seen later on in the program, and also to the brother Rasheen. If you watch, we haven't mixed up how we're gonna do, but you're gonna see them. We're gonna see one. They give. That's what talk about service, right?
Yes.
You give service. You give service back to the community, right?
I definitely do. I mean, I train camera people. I had trained college prep students at the Harlem School of the Arts. I have about 5 different students right now just getting ready to graduate from different universities as film majors. And I also worked in the field of architecture here at the City College campus. So I've seen a lot of architects get their degrees and move on to great things. So that's my reward. He got the same kind of feeling too, that happiness when you educate other people.
Oh yeah.
Because Hampton Institute had 40 buildings.
Yeah.
And because the students made the best bricks in the country, because the buildings lasted a long time, they built 33 buildings out of 40 from their hands. Hampton Institute, out of one building in the beginning.
Well, we're gonna do, like we were saying earlier, this is a soap opera, and we're gonna go into the Booker T Part 2. So y'all gotta watch it. If you already see the Booker T Part 2, because we mix up the tapes all over the place, but you're gonna be in for a treat. And we're gonna talk about the meeting of W.D. Du Bois. And they both have different views, right? Different views. But we'll do a little bit. Letty talk about today on the LMS show, Know Your History. Orlando McAllister, thank you very much for coming today on the LMS show.
Thank you, Lenny, for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. We may have our times, but you're still all right with me.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, Orlando McAllister. And in a few minutes, Sasha Hills, right here on the LMS show. And take it down.
See, he wrote a good voice.
He was in there.
He didn't know.
I wanted to know.
And we're back with the LMS show. Oh my goodness, Lord have mercy. Give yourselves a big hand. Hey, everybody at home, wherever you're watching LMS, there's LeVar and Ian. Let's give them a big hand. Leave everybody at home now. If it wasn't for these guys, I don't know, I'll be lost. Hey, you got Bernice on the floor? And listen, get on the floor and let the good time roll. I remember that one, brother. They don't have songs like that no more. We're gonna talk about that later on. But we don't have beautiful ladies like this anymore, neither. I mean, very articulate. And listen to them. LMS is producing. Look, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna sound like my friend, my billionaire friend. If you don't go to the if you don't hit on LMS, you ain't going nowhere, baby. LMS show is the place. All them other cable shows, I love them. They're my friends, I love them. But they don't produce winners like I produce a winner. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Sasha Hills. LMS show is the only one of the few I know of that sit back here and back beauty pageant winners all the time, right?
Yeah, yep,
We don't
exactly.
refuse. All the others don't. Debbie, is that true? All the others don't. You know, some of them sit back here, they hit and miss, and that's it. I believe in my queens. Even my runner-ups, I believe in them too. You know, I give beauty pageant winners, you know, the big hand. Sasha, what's the name of the title you got there, girlfriend? Sasha?
National American Miss Teen.
Give her a big hand, everybody. Now, see, the reason why I'm saying this is because Sasha worked with me. And I remember she was in another pageant, which we all won't become nameless. But anyway, I still love this. I still love these people. But also, too, Sasha came on volunteer. She worked behind the scenes and did a whole lot of, you know, a lot of positive things, too. And also, too, sometimes I get these little girls from pageants, you know, sometimes, well, you know, I get one of them last week, I called, hey, what you call me? Well, I'll get back to you, Lenny. You know, hey, you do me, you know, favor now, girlfriend. You want to take advantage of the deal, but you took advantage of the deal. Give her a big hand. You said she took advantage of the deal. The hottest deal in town, the LMS show. Oh, my goodness. Sasha, tell us about yourself. Tell us.
I am currently a 20-year-old sophomore. I just turned 20 yesterday. Thank you. I'm a 20-year-old sophomore at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. I'm currently studying mechanical engineering, which is a very, very hard major.
That clock, right? That clock, right?
Oh, yeah.
We talked about that clock the last time. Not the Johnny Ace one, but that clock, right? Go ahead.
Oh. I'm also currently part of a national co-ed service fraternity, Alpha Phi Omega. The chapter is Epsilon Zeta. I'm very proud to be a part of that service fraternity because I'll be able to give back to my community up at Troy, New York, which is where Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute is located. So, and I am very thrilled to be here. I'm with my wonderful family today, my mom, Debbie, my brother, Anthony, and my father, Kent, who is a singer.
But listen there, that's what I love about your brother. Now here's a teenager that always reading a book. All these other teenagers, they do jerk, stupid things. They always reading a book. They educate, you know, you got to educate your mind. Like what Orlando talked about earlier, right? Is that true?
Oh yes, definitely, most
Now
definitely.
give Anthony a big hand. No, all jokes aside, though. That's how you will get ahead. But also, too, how'd you, you know, I was so thrilled that you won, you know, I went there at my favorite place, and, you know, with Brooklyn, and I was so happy, though. I was very happy, you know. What does it take, you know, a lot of people, you know, ask me many times, you know, what does it take to be, to compete in a pageant?
Well, all that it takes is just to be yourself. You have to be very natural. Within this pageant system, which is a brand new pageant system, you have to partake in 4 different phases of competition, which are personal introduction, where you go in front of the stage, you have to show that you have stage presentation when you're talking to an audience. Also, there's personal interview, where you go one-on-one, just like how you and I are doing. There's also evening wear, where you walk in the gown of your dreams. It can be anything. They are allowing today's girl to be more modern. And also there's community service, which is very vital.
Also, too, in the evening, you know, don't you have to walk, you know, sometimes a lot of girls, I've seen girls sit back and spending a fortune on it. I mean, one of the girls told me, I think in the Miss Five Borough pageant, she said that she went out and got a swimsuit, I won't name the company, off the internet. And it was reasonably priced. And then she went to another store, and was like, you know, she's got it, and then she fixed it up. You know, it's called how you walk, how you feel confident in your clothes, right?
Exactly. You have to be confident in whatever you do. You have to feel very comfortable in your clothing. It has to display your personality. So you have to show the audience that this is you, and that you're very natural, you're all-American, and that you can do whatever you want to do.
Okay. you say you're gonna be as it is taping. You know, you're gonna and when we run this tape over and over again. You're gonna do some traveling, right?
Oh yes, I'm going to be doing some traveling over the summer. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be traveling to Houston, Texas for a promo shoot in April, which is 2 weeks away.
Yeah, as it is taping, yeah.
Yeah, and am so thrilled because then I'll be able to meet all the new girls, all the National American Miss and All American Queens, and I'm very excited.
Yeah, we hang out all the time.
Yeah,
know.
we do.
What's your advice to young people? You know, because like we're talking about Booker T. Washington, talking about education and everything like that, and giving back to the community. You think giving back to the community is very important?
Yes, it is very important that you should give back to the community because the community has helped you to grow and to mold into the person that you are today. So it's always good to give back as much as you can to this community. Be thankful for that they have allowed you to be the person that you are today.
I'm gonna actually, I don't want to put you on the hot seat, but this is as it is taping,
Okay.
and I was reading an article, but this is true. Won't name the island. It's an island in the Caribbean. We won't mention the name of the island. Well, this island in the Caribbean is going through so much. You know, they threw out the guy out of office. Anyway, there's another island in the Caribbean which is progressing and doing something. But I was reading an article. See, I remember it was in the Metropolitan paper. He said that one of the most important things is for the people who used to live on that island a long time ago, the one that has gone through the changes, that people who live up there should help, who are very well off, or who are doing quite well. They should help those people back in their community. Right? You agree with that?
Yeah, I do absolutely agree with that. I mean, even if, say for example, if you were born on that island and then you live up here and then you see that your island is probably going through, is trying to regress, you should at least give back to that island and say, hey, I was born and raised here and maybe I should do something about it, just not ignore it or just leave it alone.
Well, that's why they go with the turmoil, because everybody has been neglected for all them many years.
Yeah, I agree. So I agree that they should get back.
Also, too, I'm going to ask put you on the hot seat for another minute. And we have a young lady going to do this. She was a former beauty queen, Lynn Simon. She's going to come up here and talk about healthcare and healthcare. What's your position about about healthcare? Especially with the Social Security, especially Social Security, but you have people like baby boomers like myself, Mr. McAllister, and we got a lot of other people going with the Social Security. You think that they should Social Security should be private?
Social Security?
Or should go and stop playing on the stock market? That's what these people are proposing. What's your position on that?
I think it should definitely be private. I mean, Social Security is just like an identification of yourself, so it shouldn't go and float anywhere, or within stock markets or anything. So it should definitely belong to you.
You think it should stay with the government or anything like that?
Yeah, if it's between you and the government, I definitely believe that it should stay between you and the government. So
you don't think they should take my money, my Social Security money, and play on somebody's stock market?
Yeah.
And somebody. No, they would get, but also too, as far as healthcare, what's your position on healthcare, especially as a taping? They signed a bill and I didn't know this though. There's a catch to this health thing. We're going to be talking more about this in May. Is that what they're going to do is that they're trying to shift a lot of the healthcare, a lot of the Medicare and stuff like that to private insurance companies because they're going to come to the point where the Medicare is not going to cover everything. And then they're going to a lot of private companies are going to have limitations.
Right.
Do you think that you should think they should stay the same? Or there's already been it's a done deal now as we're doing the table, but do you think that and a lot of people going to Canada and buying drugs? I mean, medicine, keeping themselves alive. What's your position about that?
Oh wow. I believe that from my past experience, how Medicare is going, that when private companies hasn't come about yet to have all that transferred to private companies, it seemed that Medicare has been doing very well for a lot of people who really need those prescriptions, who need refills, and who need to have these medications so they can keep themselves healthy. Over to private companies, I think, in my opinion, that's just a little weird. But
why it's a little weird?
It's just a little weird because if you just invest into a private company, and like you said, there's limitations. You don't know if they can fully provide everything that you need. Medicare pretty much, if you show that to like a pharmacy, they
Yeah.
can provide you with, you know, whatever needs that you really need. So that's just my opinion on
On
that.
that note, I would like to thank you very much. This is an intelligent lady now. Now we gave her the pressure cooker question. Yeah, she answered the question. She's not just gonna have a crown on her head and just gonna do all that. You know, give her a big hand.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And we're coming back. I don't know who we're coming back with, but we're coming back with more of the LMS show. And take it down. Right here on the LMS show. Sasha, listen to this. Sasha's still up here with me. Get Sasha a big hand. Listen,
Thank you.
we got 2 minutes on the watch. We're going back into the 60s. Top 100 on the top 100 charts. What R&B, top 10 R&B. They call this beach music. This is on the East Coast, they had the beach music. Not the West Coast, the beach music where they had the nice, cool soul music. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the artistics. Hey, take it down. Please take it down.
From the day I laid my eyes on you, I knew, girl, you were my dream come true. I tried so hard not to confess that you were the only one